going to read about power and politics in organization under the organizational behavior. So I'll add the index in the description followed by the explanation link. Let's get started. Okay, so what is power? It is the potential of an individual person or a group to influence others. Now it is dynamic and changes, so it's not constant always, right? Today someone is power, tomorrow someone else is in power, so that changes dynamically. So what is the importance factors which plays role? All those we are going to study in the upcoming topics. Next is the difference between the leadership and power. So we see leadership is like influencing someone without having any intention of taking any favor from anyone. It's like we are doing for others benefits but not expecting anything. Whereas the power, if the power is not there with leader, then it will have a negative impact. Okay, so when the power is there with a person who doesn't have a leadership qualities, then it will be like he or she is helping someone to expect something in return. Okay, that's how we are differentiating the objects of leadership and power here. Next is leader helps a group to work in coordination, establish goals and accomplish them for the success of group. But again, power will have a negative impact. That is the third point. Now power enables person make others to act even when they are resisting. They are not okay with what they are doing, but because of your power, you are making them to do something, which is not in the case of leaders. So leaders will see, okay, if they are not if they don't want to do something, what is it that they don't want to do, why they are not interested in doing something. So if identifying those factors, he'll make sure that the goals of people and the tasks that he want to do both are aligned in the same manner. If that is the case, then he doesn't need any kind of power to make the others to work. Okay, now next is the source of power. So first we can see the reward power. Here this point emphasizes that if any work is done, your incentive or any kind of monetary or non-monetary incentives will be given. So that's how they make others to work. Next is the coercive power. So here is the example of Hitler, where we can see that he doesn't give priority to others' objectives compared to his. So whatever he or she speaks, that is law, that has to be done. So that comes under coercive power. So under coercive power we have three subcategories, which is legitimate power. So we can see, okay, Hitler is saying that, okay, do this thing because I have said, but why is he saying that? Is that okay, so why is he saying that? Okay, and why should people listen to it? So this question will be categorized in that three: legitimate, expert, referent. So first is the legitimate power. So if we consider principal of a college, so it is his duty. Okay, he cannot have anyone take a back step when he is saying something, because his or her intention, principal's intention is for the betterment of the school, college or anything. So if that is the case, and if he or she says something and the opposite person doesn't listen, then he have to take strict action. So we can say coercive power in terms of legitimate power. Next we have expert power. So here we are having an example of Sundar Pichai. So any subject we take, if there is a person who is an expert in that, because of his expertise, if he says some things, we agree to it, compared to the people who are not expertise, and if they say something, we don't listen. Okay, so that's how expertise power works. Next is the referent power. So here comes when you aspire something. Okay, you get you want to become something. Okay, you want to become like someone, role model. Okay, so here we take the example of Sandesh Maheshwari, who is not given any authoritative or legitimate power, but because of his charisma, because of the kinds of solution he provides, okay, the way he provides, okay, his charismatic behavior, his way of communication, so all those things which inspire people and give them the solution that they are searching for, that comes under referent power. Now next is our identifying source of powers in organization. So first, as we have seen, expertise power. So that is what knowledge as power means. And then we have reward power. Previously we have studied reward power. So that is something which comes under resources as power, resource of power. So here if you see, if you try to play some game with a person who belongs to the financial department, okay, who make sure that your account is properly maintained, he is kind of a CA for your account. So if you play something bad with him, he'll also make sure that he makes use of the power resource that he has, and he'll double stab you. Okay, so that's how resources of power means. So if you're depending on the resource of some person, that person will have the power over you. So that's how resource of power work. Next is the decision making as well. So here we have taken an example of a pressure decision. So here we can see if someone is taking decision for us and his decision is going to affect either in positive or negative way, so we are dependent on him. So that's how again the person who is making decision for you will have the power over you. Next is the networks as power. So the more and now we can see the influencers have more demand. Why? Because if you want to do something, if you want to advertise something, or if you want to make the public to know about something, you can easily say, ask the influencer to talk about something that you want to be publicized. So because they have the huge network, the influencers have huge network that act as a power for them. So those are some of the sources of powers. Next we have power tactics. So here we are going to study about two categories. One is the individual and intra group. So here intra group means within the group, okay, and inter group means in between the groups, like one group and second group, like that, between the groups, not within the groups. So let's study one by one. Individual and intra group tactics. So here we can say we have so whatever points we are considering in this will be at the group level, okay, it will not go outside the group, okay. So we have taken example how manager influence their subordinates, co-workers and superiors, okay. So first is assertive. So it's again how you convince the subordinates or people working for some specific task which is the task which is assigned to your group. So your skill is like you need to be assertive in the sense you need to get the yes from the people working on them without being rude. So it's like you should convince them without making them feel wrong, okay. So that's what assertive is. Then is friendliness. So if someone is not listening to you, but if someone is not listening to you, that's fine. But if that someone is your friend, okay, even if the task that you are given doesn't make some logic, he will do it for you because of the friendship. So that's how the power tactics can be used with the emotion of friend, okay. That's called friendliness. So here is not, its overall intention is to get the work done, okay. Next is the rationality. So in this we try to convince, we try to be assertive by using the logics, okay. And next we have sanctions. So you promise someone that okay, if you do this thing I might provide you with some kind of incentive. So those all things will come under sanctions. So if you are saying that okay, if you do something you will be provided with this thing, and the person will believe you only if you have the powers. So you have power and you are using the sanction technique to play with the person or to get the task done. Next is higher authority. So it's like again the exact opposite of friendliness. So in friendliness you try to convince the max possible thing from the person, but in the higher authority you don't care. You literally say if you don't do I'll complain you, that's it. So friendliness, higher authority is completely exactly opposite. And then we have bargaining. So here you make sure the person the opposite person doesn't have a loss, but also you make sure that you also don't get lost by paying him an extra money. It might be a cost, it might be money, or it might be your time, or it might be anything, but you make sure that both the parties involved in any kind of transaction, none of them are at loss. Next is the coalition. So here we can see that there are suppose two requirements which is needed for a task, and group A is good at requirement 1, group B is good at requirement 2. So instead of saying that okay, group A, you help me with the requirement 1, I'll pay you this much amount, and group B saying that okay, you help me with the other requirement, I'll pay you this much amount. So instead of having the money to come in between, we have the coalition done. So here both will help each other and both know that okay, we need to have the relationship strengthened. So that's where coalition come. Next is our intergroup tactics. So here we can see whatever points we are studying now will be between the groups, okay. When one group influences the other, okay, former expert power on later. So it means if you are getting influenced by the other group, so the group which convinced you will have more power on you, okay. So in that we have three kinds of tactics. One is the uncertainty absorption. So here it is the definition itself is mentioned in the uncertainty absorption. So if suppose in any organization there will be a specialized group, okay, which does more than a single thing, like it will be involved in the transport, it will be involved in the financial things, it will be involved in the infrastructure things, so it will be involved in a number of other things. So because it has a power on all the departments, it might play his own tactics, because if you say, okay, I belongs to financial department, and you play some politics with that group. Okay, that group will make sure that it somehow backstab you in all the other departments. So these all are the some of the negative politics that happens. So one of them is the uncertainty absorption. Here we are not sure what that group is going to play with us. Okay, next is the sustainability. So here we can say that okay, again take that example. Consider a group which does involved in the multiple tasks. Okay, and you try to take advices from them every time you get into some conflict. So for example, if you take, okay, you want to buy a cement. Okay, so you take suggestion, how is the market, what is going on, from whom should we buy. So instead of that, bettering to him and getting advices from them, because they are also again dealing with some other tenders indirectly, otherwise they would not be knowing about all this information. So instead of getting those kind of specialized groups involved in your transaction, you directly get to your end customer and make sure you get the advices from them, and you complete the transactions with them directly without it involving any specialized group in between. So that is called sustainability. That is, you are reducing the politics completely by not involving anyone else who is not contributing by that much, and who could play politics against you without providing you any kind of beneficial. Okay, next is the integrative importance. So here we can say that HR team got someone hired, okay, and it is assigned to your team, and you are making or getting the work done by that person, he or she person, and finally you need to pay him, right? So finally you hired, you got the work done, but you are dependent on the finance department. So finance department is like, it knows, okay, anyway I am the department who's going to pay them. So when it knows the importance of its department, and you know that you are dependent on someone, so that someone, that some department, in our case the finance department, will exert power over you. So that is called integrative importance. So that is one kind of a negative tactic in the intergroup tactics. Next is our power in groups. So here we see if there is a power in some group, and we know that in group there will be people with different kind of morals, principle and values. So how it is being taken for granted by some people, how it is taken as a proper power by someone, how some people abuse it. So all those we study in powers in groups. So some express it inappropriately, some take the negative advantage of it. Okay, some try to butter with their existing power to get more power, and some people get their task done just because they have power, and they avoid to learn things. Okay, so these are again things about the negative people, but not about people who are actually making use of that power positively to strengthen themselves or the organization. Okay, then we can see that they view themselves as having greater accountability towards group and its objectives. So which is correct, but they shouldn't feel in that manner, because that again makes the leader or the person who is having a power as a task oriented, which is not good in the long term. So if he works in the employee oriented or people oriented, then he will not consider his formal authority as a literal power. Okay, so that's what we study in powers in groups. Next we have negative politics. So what happens when this power is used for politics, like negative politics? So we see there will be non-cooperation between the employees. They try to sabotage, that is backstab someone, dishonesty will be there, there will be no transparency, coercion will be there. So the information will be distorted, everything will go manipulation, and finally the environment will get destroyed, and the employee retention, employee happiness, everything will go down. Okay, next we have politics within organization, or factors contributing to organizational politics. So in that we have individual factors, why individual wants to get the power. Next we have organizational factors. So what are the organizational factors are there which could lead to the politics in the organizations? So let's study one by one. So individual factors is when someone wants to get promotion, that is need for power. Okay, and second is Machiavellianism. Okay, this seems a very tongue twister kind of thing, but what it says is, it is about the people who can do anything just to get the power. They might be involved in activities, they might manipulate any sort of information, so they will do anything, just the only condition is if they know that they will be benefited with this kind of task. Okay, then we have locus of control. So as we have studied previously in the learning, locus of control means whatever it is, like either it is a blaming thing or responsibility thing, or crediting Okay, anything it might be. If you are taking it upon you, we call it as an internal. If you are blaming someone else, or if you are giving credits to someone else, that we call as an external locus of control. So the same thing applies for politics as well. Next is the risk seeking tendency. So what the correct statement is, the more the politics you are involved in, the more risk it is. So the people who are having the more tendency to involve in the risk, they will be more involved in the politics. So that's what this risk seeking tendency emphasizes on. Next we have organizational factors. So we can see the first point is limited resources. So there are two teams, team A and team B. Okay, now when their resources are limited and there are two managers who want to get the task done, so here they will try to do politics so as to get most of the resource in their account compared to the other person, so that to get the work done, of course. But yeah, this is one such scenario where politics could be played by the managers or whoever the task is assigned with. Then we have uncertainty in decision making. So here we can take example like you are the boss and you know two people are working very extremely hard, and you consider both of them as equally importance, but you can only provide promotion or appraisal to any one of the person. So here when you have uncertainty in decision making, one of those two persons will be trying to play some politics by buttering or by doing any favor to you. So in these kind of situations again you come across the politics. Next we have performance pressure. So when you are you know that you will be assessed based on the performance, right? But because of some reason you are not able to do something, so again instead of focusing on the work that you are assigned to do, you will try to find an alternative way. So there comes our pressure due to performance, which again leads to the politics. Next we have role of politics in determining organizational culture. So what it says that organization culture refers to the values and behavior that contributes to a distinctive social and physiological environment of organization. So what it says that there is a culture of the organization which indirectly or directly decides what is going to be the physiological, psychological, mentality, environment of an employee working in that organization. Because let's take an example. A person is working in an with his work assigned to him, okay, and there is some politics going on, like you will not be going to get the credits that should be given to you because of the kind of work that you are doing. Then we can see the person who is going to work on that, his efficiency will be get affected, his environment is not proper, which is not cooperating. So this will again so the whole point says the organization culture, the transparency, the policies, the rules and regulation that it has, that will define the psychological mindset of an employee or the people working under that organization. Next is this determines how employee will act towards each other. Okay, that is self-explanatory. Then we have favorable organization culture. Okay, so here we are considering the positive politics, okay, which not only strengthen the organization but also employ. So here both will be like, you can say the power bargain is going on. The employee will take care of the organization will take care of the power. So that's how favorable organization culture works. Next we have politics has a direct impact, right? So as we have seen previously, the organization culture is good, everything around the employee is internal, external, emotions, factors, everything will work in the favor of employee, so indirectly working in favor of organization. Overall everyone will be happy. But if the negative politics comes into picture, everything will be ruined. Like we have studied previously, we have some scenarios which could lead to organization politics. So these are some of them, and again we have individual factors as well. So if any one of them comes into politics, we can say that it is leading to the negative politics, which may ruin everything, all the work, all the kind of proper environment, everything will be ruined. Now the last topic is the importance of personality development for encountering politics. So here we are talking about negative politics. So it's like if you are a short tempered person, okay, you will be more likely to be what we can say, you will be more probably the one who is getting targeted in the politics. So that is what neuroticism says. That was the last point. So it's again what is your mood swings, how stable you are, how much you can handle, how much pressure you can handle, all those things, everything related to the mind, neuroticism is coming under this point. Now let's come in sequence. Okay, so first is the personality traits. It says how honest, how hard work, what are your values, what are your principles, So if you are standing on your principle, morals, your values of your generation, if that is good, then there will be less probability that you will be encountering or you will be involved in the politics. Okay. Next is the personal values. So here the honesty, dignity, the values of that you are possessed with. So we can say personality traits and values are kind of synonyms. Okay, personality traits which comes inherited, personality value that you possess during your growth. Then we have factor model. Ocean. So O means openness. So how open you are, how much ideas you are expecting from others, how much you are not, how much transparent you are being. So it is completely about openness. Okay, more the openness factor is there, less the negative politics. And then we have consciousness. So higher is the factor consciousness, more is the reliability persistent, because you are aware of everything that is happening around you and what could happen. So this will not only make you the conscious, but people around you will be feeling comfortable, because even if we miss something, there's a person who could help us. So and the more the consciousness, the more reliable the person becomes. Okay, next we have extroversion. So here we can say the people who we say as extrovert, they don't hide much. Okay, so this is like again a subcategory of openness. So they are more open to anything. They will not hide something from you, they'll not keep something in their heart, they'll speak out to you. So when this kind of behavior is there, we can see that nothing is hidden, so there is nothing to be worried about. So whatever is there, it is there on the table. That's how extroversion comes. Next is the agreeableness. So if you are not agreeing with some decision or something, just sit and try to resolve it there. Finally make sure that either you agree to it or either they agree to them, or if none of you are agreeing, then comes to a alternate or common or proper solution, so that everyone is agreeing. So there is no scope of politics coming into picture. Okay, there is nothing to be worried about if everyone is agreeing on the common decision. And neuroticism, as we have studied as the first point. So all these topics coming under the powers and politics in this concept. If you have any queries, please write down in the comment section. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.